Welcome back everybody to Touch Grass Go Fast. Today I'm going to be going over about a 6-month review of my Honda CRF300L. I've had this bike now for a little over 6 months, but thought I'd give my updated review of what I think of it, good, bad, and all that. So if you're looking to get a new bike or get into riding, and kind of let you know what I think of this bike here. Let's start off with the things I don't like about this bike, since it is a pretty short list. First con about this bike, which is a really random thing, is the kickstand on this is really short. So when you put the kickstand down, and if you're on any slanted pavement, it feels like the bike is leaning a lot. Not a huge thing, just something you do notice compared to other bikes I've had. Another thing about this bike that everyone says, which for me it's kind of a con, I haven't had too much issue with it yet, is the suspension. Suspension's really soft. I mean, right when you sit on the bike, it's a kind of a high seating bike. I think like 35 inches to the top of the seat. It definitely compresses quite a bit. And if you're hitting bumps, it compresses. Now, with that being said, I've never bottomed it out, but I do know a lot of people talk about that's one of the first things they want to replace if they're going to make it a little bit more hardcore off-road riding or do some more aggressive stuff, or if you're just a heavier rider in general, it may be something you want to look into. Something that kind of is a con for this bike is it's not the fastest bike. So if you're going on the highway, I like to sit right around 65 to 75 in that range. You're probably not doing much faster than that. So if you're looking to do really high speeds, which I don't know anyone who really looks at this bike to get high speeds, this is not going to be the bike for you. Another con of this bike, which I don't know anyone really buying it for this reason, but if you are, is you probably don't want to put a passenger on it. I put my girlfriend on this bike before. She's very small and light, and your suspension definitely compresses, and it definitely goes a lot slower with a passenger on it. But like I said, that's not really a reason you'd buy this bike. Now let's get into the pros, because I got a good amount of them and really actually do love this bike. I just want to get the cons out of the way. First thing right off the bat with this bike is the price. If you're looking at buying a first bike or something light to maneuver and don't want to spend a lot of money, because these are technically like basically ultralight dual sports or like ADV adventure bikes, you can find these bikes used on Facebook Marketplace now for probably anywhere between $4,000 to about $5,500 all day long. So it's really, really cheap to get into. And on top of that, when you insure these bikes, you can spend probably as little as $60 for the year up to whatever you want to spend for coverage. I spend, I think, around $100 to $180 because I got different coverage on there for theft and parts and all that stuff. But they're insanely cheap to insure, being a dual sport, not that expensive to begin with. Another thing about these bikes is the gas mileage. I get about 60 to 70 miles per gallon on this bike, and that is really good. So as far as gas goes, with this only being like a 2.5 or 2.6 gallon tank and a 0.5 of that's a reserve, it does very well. I've never ran out of gas or really been worried about it. Also, with this bike being only a 300cc bike, it is fairly light. I'm not gonna say it's as light as a dirt bike, but it's very light for most bikes. Probably like 320 pounds or something like that. So very good beginner bike, easy to learn on, can maneuver it. If you drop it, which I've done, you can pick it up, which goes into the next thing. It's really durable, it's a Honda, it's reliable. I've had no issues with this bike, and I've taken this on single track, I've taken this on trails, I've even got it off the ground a little bit, like jumped it, and this thing has given me no issues whatsoever. The maintenance intervals on these is also super long, so this isn't a bike that you have to work on all the time, every other time you take it out. I mean, you can change the oil in this thing once a year, and as long as you're throwing gas in it, you're gonna be riding. I mean, I don't know many people who've had any issues with these bikes whatsoever. If you have, comment down below, but I don't know anyone who's had an issue with this, and I've never had any first-hand experience, any issue with this bike, so it has been doing really well for me in that department. Now, as far as off-road use goes, I really don't have any complaints whatsoever. Some people do. I guess if you're a really extreme hardcore rider, which you're probably not looking at this bike if you are anyway, I've taken this, like I said, on single track, on trails, really bumpy. Suspension's never bottomed out for me. I weigh about 165 pounds. I know I'm on the lighter side for this bike, but I feel like I haven't even been close. And when you're off-roading on this, it tractors really well. So if you're going slow, it just pushes its way up through stuff. I mean, the gear settings, the way it is really nice. I say 1 through 3 is really good when you're off-roading. And then the cool thing about this is you also have that highway gear. So when you are going on the road, you do have that overdrive gear, which is 6 to kick into. and hit those higher speeds. And when I say higher speeds, once again, about 65, 70. You do get blown around a little bit on the freeway because it's a lighter bike, but it hasn't been an issue for me whatsoever. I have taken this bike all the way from Los Angeles up to Big Bear, California to ride, and rode the whole way up with luggage on it. And I felt fine, and it was comfortable for me, and that's with knobbies on as well. I don't have street tires on this. I have some pretty good sized knobbies on here. Another thing about this bike is the aftermarket. There's a huge aftermarket for parts. I've added a whole bunch of stuff onto this, so you have no shortage of anything you want to do with it. You don't have to worry about looking for any parts that you wouldn't be able to get. I got a skid plate on the bottom of this, guards on the side. They added a rack when I bought it, hand guards and handbars, new handlebars on it. I have a radiator guard that I added on here. I don't know what else I've put on here, but I'm going to link anything that I'm using, or a lot of the stuff that I'm using, down below. So feel free to check in the description if there's anything on here you see when you want to add to yours. If you're looking for a good commuter bike because you live in the city or somewhere you really don't need to hop on the highway much, not that you can't, but it definitely shines off the highway a lot more, this is a great bike to buy. Another thing about this bike that's really good is it has like a slipper clutch to it. So when you're shifting, it's very, very easy, and the clutch has a very easy pull in. I mean, it's very user-friendly if you're looking for a beginner bike, or just in general. I've never had a bike that's had that type of clutch system before on it, and I've ridden big cruisers, which is what I used to have, different sports bikes, and kind of a lot of other bikes, and this one definitely has kind of like my favorite clutch system in it, just with how easy it is to use. Honestly, this is my favorite bike that I feel like I've ridden. And I mean, I've rode a lot of different types of bikes, but this one, for some reason, just with how maneuverable it is and the gas, and you can go anywhere with it being a dual sport. It's just fun to mess around with, play with. There's nowhere that you're off limited to. Like, you can hop curbs, you can go over medians, you can take it off road, you can ride the road. There's really no limitation with this bike. Also, if you have a trailer, or if you have a trailer hitch that you put on the back of the car to lug this bike around, with it being a lot lighter bike, you have a lot more options. You can put this on a lot of trailer hitches and be perfectly fine. Or if you're trailering it, or just have the bed of a truck or something, it's small enough where you can easily fit it. That's my plan actually down the road with this. I'm gonna pick up my buddy's truck, and then he has a hitch carrier that I'm gonna throw this on the back, so that way when I'm going a little further and going to camp, I can just have this hitched on the back. Overall, I'm excited to put more miles on the bike and keep riding it. I mean, it's treated me really well, and also this is all purely just my opinion and my experience with it. So definitely do some of your own research, see what you're looking for to do, with what type of riding and where you're trying to go, and kind of make sure you do your own evaluation as well. I hope this helps you guys out. If you had any questions, or you're someone who's looking into it or on the fence, I hope this kind of gives some information that may lean you one way or the other. If this type of video helped you out, please give me a thumbs up so I know to keep making some more of these. Until next time, guys, keep on riding.